are not much wrong. So it is security blended with sustainability. And some more about Sangam, you can see he's very young. He started at the age of 20, one of the most young, talented one who shifted from hardware to software. He has received multiple awards, Cyber Security Innovator of the Year 2023 award by B-Sides Bangalore. He has worked on Dockers, etc., etc., etc. I have a long list for his achievements. And of course, he is a part of the community to empower free education, and hence we need to reach out to him for that. So let's welcome Sangam. He will also be doing some demo and interactive session. The ultimate goal is sustainability with security. So let's welcome Sangam Biridar with a huge round of applause. Over to you, Sangam.
Hello, everyone. So my name is Sangam. I work at Defense. It's a startup. We are also part of a CNCF landscape. We have open source tools. I work as a principal security advocate. Before that, I used to work at Tenable Security. So I mostly contribute to community. I write blogs, resources around security, Go language Rust, or DevOps. I published my first course at Packet Publication in 2019 when K3S is launched, one of a Kubernetes flavor. So mostly I do contribute to community a lot with content, by talking, by code. So let's, okay, so today's agenda is, I'm going to talk about, we have seen a lot of themes around sustainability, right? But if you go deep down, we somewhere come to the operating system, networking, processes. Maybe you are adopting the open source projects, right, in your organization. That can cause a lot of computation power also. Maybe there is a malware, there is secret leaks, that can lead your, some business, you can lose your business value actually. So to do that in sustainability, you need to care about security as well. If you say, okay, we are doing a cost saving and a lot of things, but our infrastructure, everything is not secure. So there is no point of doing that. And today, everybody say we adopted containers, everybody is packaging container, adopting DevSecOps pipelines, using number of tools, right? Number of open source tools also, but they don't know what they are using actually. They don't know what dependencies they are using. So there is a lot of things, so I'm going to cover these topics. And also we have the open source tool. I'm going to show a live demo. So let's, before jumping into cloud native security, what some of the keywords come into your mind, right? When I call a CNAP or cloud native security. So if you see in this diagram, so CNAP is all about the cloud native application protection platform, which contain a workload, your identity access management, then your CSPM, cloud security posture management, okay, what vulnerability you got, or maybe you are using the third-party cloud on-prem, or you are adopting some of the inbuilt tools like Kubernetes, CI/CD pipelines, right? Those are also very important when we talk. So let's go one by one, and let's say this is a kind of traditional kind of infrastructure. Maybe you are using a GCP, maybe you are using AWS or on-prem, whatever your infrastructure. On top of that, you have cloud infrastructure, and you're using some different services, right? So let's talk about CWP. What is CWP? So CWP is a cloud workload protection platform. When I talk about workload, you need to think about computational engines, container, or cloud, like serverless systems, right? So that we call a workload. So mostly our application, we deploy on the workload, right? Maybe we are using a different service, maybe on-prem, maybe IoT device also, right? So that all, wherever you find the computation or containers, so that is also very important. Workload is a main core kind of infrastructure where we deploy or run our applications. So next thing is CSPM, Cloud Security Posture. Now when I talk about CSPM, Now there are different cloud vendors, right? Now people coming with their own flavor of cloud also. So maybe you are using any kind of cloud with a different services like Kubernetes, managed services, right? So you need to scan those whole things to see what process, and you need to think from the perspective of security and observability. Then only you can think, okay, is it my infrastructure is sustainable, what I am adopting or whatever application I adopted, open source or maybe a Kubernetes, what kind of resource it's utilizing, right? What of CPU, like observability metrics you need to trace somewhere. So next thing is Kubernetes. Now most of the product, most of the people adopted a container. After adopting container, they orchestrate using a Kubernetes, right? So Kubernetes has become a main thing for the Kubernetes, but most of the developers don't scan their clusters, right? An attack can happen from anywhere. Next thing is you create IAM roles, right? Or like federal accounts. So this kind of use case, you need to secure your identity and access management. Next thing is, let's say I detect some of the threats in my infrastructure, no matter what I am using, on-prem, cloud, IoT device. So we need to detect it and remediate those vulnerabilities we got in CWP or maybe containers, Kubernetes. So we need to think about that also. So let's divide. I divided into the chart. Now we see something called infrastructure as a service, Kubernetes as a service. Now people using a Kubernetes and building a solution top of that, right? Most of the people. And most of the time I got question from the developer, engineers, okay, we adopted this tool. What is my security, what is my responsibility here? So if you see in the green part, okay, and you see so that define, now you see the CNCF landscape. How many of you know CNCF landscape, by the way? So you can go to cncflandscape.io. CNCF is a foundation, Cloud Native Computing Foundation, where all open source tool and technology, all companies contribute there and create this tool to make kind of use of this thing. And it has a different layer. Let's say you have infrastructure, you have provisioning service, you have managed services, you package those things, right, to the code from the user perspective. So you need to think which service you are using and what is your role into that as a security person, or as you need to think about like security and observability perspective. Now everybody know the software development life cycle, right? So everybody adopt DevOps or DevSecOps, right? They plan, they code, they build, test, release, deploy, and operate and monitor, right? And in this pipeline, we need to find a sustainability, security, and everything. How to achieve that, right? It's very important. Now, when you plan, you need to think from the what are the threat cases, what are the misuse thing can happen. You need to check the configuration drift. Maybe because of some little configuration drift, maybe you get a lot of builds, right? Then you need to check the infrastructure testing. You need to test it, load. Let's say, how many of you heard Netflix, right? You ever seen the Netflix going down? No. Why? Because they do a chaos engineering. They test. They do load testing. So chaos engineering, resilience and chaos engineering are also important. But let's say in this pipeline, something is failing after deploying. You need to go back and again you start to plan code and this kind of pipeline. Most of the companies, what they do, they build this thing after the monitoring, they think about the security. So we need to think about like more developer perspective and kind of DevOps perspective also. And that's where the DevSecOps concept relies on, making the developer security kind of culture in the company. And this is a practice. DevOps, DevSecOps is a practice. If we do a lot of practice, of your environment, how you are securing code and all. So you learn a lot about that. And chaos engineering is very important when you talk about sustainability. Because let's say today, like services like Netflix can go down, right? It can cause a lot of problem, right? And you can do a testing around if some pod got failed, some VM got failed. So those kind of use cases is very important. So we developed a tool called Thread Mapper. It's first CNAP tool. It's completely open source, and we cover all the CNAP kind of concept, and we are agent and agentless mode. You can deploy your thing. So we do a CWPP, which is like container, host, threat detection, or maybe a serverless kind of services if you're using. We do a vulnerability management or observability. Also, if you have the IAM users, we do a malware scanning and secret scanning as well. So when you talk about this whole thing pipeline, so most of the people I get a kind of answer from, we do a Kubernetes security. But you need to think as a whole infrastructure, what we use. Secrets can be leaked in host, maybe container. So you need to think about the bigger picture of your whole infrastructure. Same thing if you talk about sustainability, you need to think about a bigger picture, not just a cloud, right? What are the processes? What is the telemetry data we're getting, right? So this kind of, so recently I have seen kind of, if somebody injected a malware into my infrastructure that keep running and increasing my CPU utilization, right? I can get a more kind of bills, right? And maybe they can use my data, or they can put an agent. So malware detection and secret scanning is very important. So this is kind of how this open source tool work. You can use a Docker compose file. You can just deploy, you get that console. You can kind of deploy as a daemon set, or maybe a container D if you are using. No matter what container runtime you are using, you can use that. Maybe you are a bare metal, you can deploy there. So first you need a kind of a console, user console, then you can connect agent to it. So now this console is deployed to your kind of infrastructure, so we're not getting your data or anything, you are managing, you are doing everything, you put agent, and you manage everything, we scan. And we deploy this as a microservice, so as your infrastructure scale, we scale. So I'm going to show the demo round also. So let's talk about how many of you know the Kubernetes. Or you can raise hand if you user or you're doing the kubectl or maybe deploy a simple command. So when you talk about, you have the master node and the worker node here. So in the master node, etcd, API server, scheduler and controller. The controller part contains what today you use cloud services. Okay, Kubernetes leverage this kind of cloud service feature into the controller manager, and that make developer life very easy. You don't need to rely on on infrastructure. So etcd is very important. It's a key value database. Is one of a project from CNCF itself. etcd contain all the keys and accesses. So never expose your etcd to public, okay? Or maybe don't give a kubeconfig file to anybody. Another thing is application and vulnerability is very important. So whenever you deploy the worker node, you need to see the container. You scan a container, secrets, malware. First, you need to secure the host, okay? Most of the people don't secure the host. So what port are the open? So that's kind of simple thing is very important when you adopt this kind of open source tool. And now we'll move to the container part. This Kubernetes, if you don't know what is container and kind of Kubernetes, container is aeroplane, then Kubernetes is airport. Okay, it's managed those containers basically. So when you talk about the containers, you have hardware, you have kernel OS, you have container engines, you have kind of containers that talking with each other, right? So you need to secure where you host your, install your container engine, right? That kernel or operating system must need to be secure, okay? Most of the people I see, they don't use kind of secure images. And then you have the Docker socket. Maybe most of people use a Docker as for the container, but there are different services up to you. Some people put a Docker socket very open that expose their internal kind of communication from the Docker daemon to outside world. So don't do that. Don't expose your uh, Docker sockets. When you deploy any application, make sure that in infrastructure, and when you have this kind of a container, you don't run a privileged containers, okay? Uh, you can check a kind of insecure images. So if you are using a Docker registry, right? So make sure that only trusted images you can pull and build your images top of that. So let's come to the another part of kind of when you talk about sustainability, one thing is very important, which is SBOM. You go to restaurant, right? You order something, you get a nice bill, okay? And you have the what you order, right? Let's say I order dosa, idli, and I ate these two things, right? You have bill of what you ate. When in the software, you don't have a bill. So that's why the Open SSF Foundation is now for everybody is very important to submit their SBOM reports, what they use because of we recently seen a Log4j attack, and people don't know when such kind of attack happens where my problem stays. So generate your SBOM report of DevSecOps pipeline. Okay, what dependencies you use and scan those dependency. Maybe some dependencies are outdated. You can get a big problem. And it's very important in sustainability because if you're using some outdated thing, it will use CPU utilization, you use a lot of things. So it's very important to keep updated. So this is our site, community.defense. We have the different open source projects. Now you can check my resources here. We'll see the demo, live demo of cluster and some cloud resources. How to do a better kind of security observability and see the process, what running, and more deeper into live kind of thing. It's widely adopted tool by the customers, and we have the enterprise also. But in open source, we are the only one CNAP tool in the market. So I'm going to show the demo. So is it visible, guys? So this is a platform. So first, to bring this management console, you need to go to GitHub repo and create a EC2 instance or any instance with minimum 20 GB of space because it's run as a everything content. It's a kind of security box for you. You don't need to do anything. It's get updated automatically. So we have the dashboard, which you need to create a console. Once you have a console, you can go to settings, okay? And you can integrate kind of your Kubernetes, your AWS, whatever tool, where you want to, let's say you have the bare metal or VMs. You can put an agent there. You can just select agent, you can run this, if your Docker installed, you just deploy those things, right? So this way I have kind of 3 cloud providers, 5 hosts, 1 cluster, 38 pod, 75 containers, 4 namespaces, 6 registries. You can connect registries also. I have 841 kind of container images. Okay. Now we go to the topology. Let's say if you don't see, you don't secure it. Okay. The simple thing. Okay. Because everybody use 100 tools right today, and their engineer don't know what is that container name, what is that people get because the size also very important, the organization size. It's very difficult to security team or DevOps team to catch up these things when attack or something happens, right? So now I have the topology. I can go deeper into expand my topology, okay, no matter what thing you use, okay, you need to deploy agents, and it's all managed by you on your infrastructure. We are not getting any of your data. You manage any problem you get. We have the community channel. You can reach out to community. So I have the 5 hosts here, okay. Kubernetes now. Another part is thread graph. I will come later. But let's go to vulnerability. Let's say in whole infrastructure, I have the vulnerability of 9.3K. But I don't have a security team in my company, right? So we use something called eBPS technology. So from 9.3K vulnerabilities, you can fix 1K. Most exploitable vulnerabilities we catch. We give this matrix. And also we give attack path vector where how attacker can attack to your infrastructure. We show. Let's say you use a third-party tool. We scan that third-party library also. It's updated or not. We do a secret scanning, same. Let's say you have the secrets exposed in your whole infrastructure or CI/CD pipelines. We do malware scanning. We support posture kind of management CSPM, which contain kind of AWS or on-prem anything you can use. We scan those things. You can connect directly registries. It will, when you push the image, it scan everything. We have the different integrations, let's say Slack and all those kind of notifications. So you can get a notification to your engineering team. And you can add a different engineering team. You don't need to buy anything. Let's say we have the different engineering team. You can just add up. And it's a free of cost, right? So you can have a database, everything at your place. Let's go to the dashboard. Let's say attack path vector. Now I have the AWS, GCP. We use all the cloud, let's say. Let's say I have a startup and I use everything. And I can see the attack path vector here. I see the vulnerabilities. So I can go to vulnerability. I can see more vulnerability detail around it. Okay. So you can fix that kind of vulnerability and remediate whatever. So when I talk about, let's say I have a container. Let's say I have this container. You can see in the list format as well. So let's say I have this agent. So you can see the processes. What are the processes? You can take actions around secret scanning, malware scanning. We detect all the running processes, what CPU utilization is happening. With security and those kind of things, you have the attack path vector. So it's very easy for you to see how attacker can attack to your thing and get kind of, you can respond to that whatever attack happens or the vulnerability. You have all the details about that vulnerability. You have all the CVE details, everything. You just need to fix it. And if attack happens, if you have the bigger security team, it's easy for you. You can remediate those things. But detecting itself will become a problem in the cloud native environment. So that's why we built this tool to bring the one solution for everybody and open source it as part of the CNCF landscape. So everybody can take a benefit of it. So any questions, anything, I'm happy to answer.